Good afternoon, UCSOP faculty. I wanted to do just a quick overview of appreciative advising in the ePortfolio process for you in this format before we moved into the fall semester of 2015. We are having a faculty meeting on the 17th of August, and we can certainly address some questions during that time, but accompanying the email and this video is the syllabus for the ePortfolio course, as well as the reflection guide and a PowerPoint that was shared with the students during 501L, so that would have been the P1 students. So one of the things that you're going to notice first is that on the 24th of August, when classes begin, you will log into the eLearn system, and every faculty member will have access to two different courses. So one of those courses is going to be labeled P2, P3, and P4 ePortfolio. So that will be one course. And obviously, as the name suggests, that course is going to include all of our P2, P3, and P4 students, as well as their advisors. The other course will actually be Pharmacy 598, which, starting with the class of 2019, students will be enrolled in an ePortfolio course, a non-credit course, pass-fail, each semester. And so that course will be just for P1 students. In this course, you're going to see two things. You're going to see the syllabus as well as a breakdown of each of the ePortfolio assignments and the naming conventions that the students need to use when uploading their documentation and their reflection into the Pharm academic environment. Now, for 501L students, this process will be covered in detail this week during 501L. However, for P2, P3, and P4 students, we're going to be doing a series of emails, probably another video for them like this, as well as mentioning it at the first convocation. So we want to start with the P1 students first, since they're the ones that are really coming full-fledged into the new ePortfolio process. So what they have been told is that their advisor, that's you, and each of you should have between 2 and 3 P1 advisees. They will be meeting with their advisors during lunch on Wednesday, and so they know that that's an opportunity to connect with their advisor. What I have asked for them to do is complete an appreciative advising inventory. It's a very short inventory. I've given you the link in the email which contains this video to that inventory, along with some guiding questions that you can use when having some conversations with them about the inventory. So you can use that lunchtime to discuss the inventory, or if you want to make an appointment to do that at a later date, you can do that. So that's one opportunity to meet with your P1 advisee this semester. The second opportunity to meet with your P1 advisee would be during the month of October. In September, I'm going into Pharmacy 510, Introductory to Pharmacy, which Dave Boyer coordinates, and I will be working through the APHA Career Pathways document, which I will also be attaching to this email, so you'll get a lot of attachments here. And that will help to guide them in some of their self-selected activities, as well as writing the learning outcomes that are required for the portfolio. So one of the pieces of that assignment in 510 is that they share it with their advisor. So again, October would be another wonderful opportunity for them to connect with you as an advisor. And then my suggestion would be that you work with them to tell them that the two pieces of the portfolio, the Part 1, globally mandated activities, and Part 2, self-selected activities, I would encourage them to have those posts in their ePortfolio by the Monday after Thanksgiving, and that way that gives you some time to review it, and if you need to give them feedback before they leave for the semester, you have time to do that. So want to talk again, just give a quick overview of the ePortfolio. Again, for P1 students, we'll talk in just a moment about what's different for P2, P3, and P4 students. But for the ePortfolio, again, P1 students are enrolled in Pharmacy 598. We cover this in depth this week during 501L, and they know that the portfolio is intended for them to document involvement in co-curricular activities, increase their self-awareness, self-assess their personal and professional growth, as well as design an individualized learning plan and some learning outcomes that they hope to achieve based on their own career aspirations, and then also develop their CV. That's a big piece of this. So let's talk first about the first piece of the portfolio, which is the globally mandated activities. This semester, P1 students are required to do 6 things, okay? Actually, let me backtrack on that. There are 6 key areas to the portfolio. We have advocacy, cultural awareness, interprofessional education, leadership and management, public health outreach, and scholarship. So what we're trying to do with the portfolio is to make sure that students are really touching on all 6 of those areas during the time that they're enrolled in the portfolio course over the 4 years. So we really want them ideally to hit all 6 every year. And so what we're focused on for 598 for fall is really 4 main requirements. I misspoke earlier and said 6, but there are 4 main requirements that students must have as far as globally mandated activities are for this semester. The first is that they need to verify their immunization and health clearance form. They will actually do an exercise this week in which they're required as part of 501L as an assignment to upload that information into the portfolio. So their first piece of 4 will be done this week. The second is to create a CV. This is the beginnings of that process. It's going to be obviously evolving and changing over time, and that's what we want. We want to be able to take a look back at the CV in the first semester versus the second versus the third versus by the time they get to their P4 year. And then they also need to upload a copy of a journal club. And they also need to create their career aspirations document. Now, the syllabus that is attached to this email that contains this video gives some very clear directions on how to write the career explorations document. And part of that is to really set goals and learning outcomes that they work in tandem with you to create. And then they can address through the portfolio throughout the 4 years how those goals have changed, altered, how they've met them, how they've not met them, where their strengths and weaknesses are. So that is a key piece to assessing their learning through this process, is that career aspirations document. Those are the only 4 pieces that they have to have the fall semester. Okay, if you want to jump ahead and you want to look at spring, that's very clearly laid out in the syllabus as well as in the attached PowerPoint. But I wanted to get the information out about what was expected this semester to you in terms of what you would be expected to assess and look at with the provided rubrics in the syllabus. Now, there is a pass-fail for this course. So one of the things that Sandy, Jane, and I will, and Becky and I will be working on is how best to submit grades for the course. But the intention with the rubric is that you will use it and share it with the students to provide feedback to them. And then we will create a communication mechanism which we will communicate in early November about how you're going to let us know whether that student is a pass or fail for the course, for the semester. Because then, of course, in spring, we register them for the next part of the first year portfolio course, which is 599. So that should get you through this semester with the P1s with the globally mandated activities. In regard to the second piece of the portfolio, which is the self-selected activities, I want you to understand that the self-selected activities are just 6 total. So it's 6 total for the whole entire time that they are enrolled from, P1, P2, P3 year, and then of course they're reflecting on that a lot during P4 year. So it's 6 total. The goal is for them to have 1 per semester through P3 year, spring of P3. So they just have to select 1 right now, really, for this semester that they're going to work towards. And there are some samples in the grid, in the syllabus. There are some samples for self-selected activities. There are a number of different categories there. Students can choose from any category that they wish, but what we don't want them to do is have duplicates. So they choose from one category, that's the only thing they can choose from that category. They then have to go to another for their second and their third, their fourth, their fifth, their sixth, etc. And so they need to be talking about in their career aspirations document and in the reflection of that activity, how that meets the learning activities and the goals that they've set with you and they've identified. So that's really the goal. One of the other things that I wanted to let you know, because such a big piece of this portfolio is reflection, is the reflection guide, also attached to this email. Are you seeing a theme here? Is going to be shared with the students. And as part of 501L, they are going to have to do a reflection activity, just so that I can kind of gauge where they're at in the reflection process. That's not required for their portfolio. It's required for 501L, but I would encourage you to ask your advisee to share that with you, so you get a real sense of where they're at from just kind of a baseline writing. Again, each of you only has about 2 or 3 P1 students, so it's not like you would be reading an enormous amount of reflections. But if you so choose, I would encourage you to ask them to share that with you. So that would be 3 things that I've mentioned during the course of this video that I would encourage your advisees, your P1 advisees, to share with you. One is the appreciative advising inquiry or assessment. The other is the APHA Career Pathways document in October, and then this reflection that they're working on in 501L. And again, I would encourage all students to have everything uploaded into the portfolio, the e-portfolio, by the Monday after Thanksgiving, so that you have ample time to review and to use the assessment tools. This leads me to what we're doing with P2, P3, and P4 students. They are not actually enrolled in the sense that they're not registered for a course, whereas the P1 students are, but we are linking them to that P2, P3, P4 e-portfolio course in eLearn, which you and the students will have access to starting on the 24th of August. We, at this point, are only asking that those students do the globally mandated activities. They do not necessarily have to do reflections. They just have to provide evidence of participation in those activities based on the current requirements. So if you look at the globally mandated activities grid in the course syllabus, you're going to see that on the left-hand side is the list of required activities. On the right-hand side are what they need to do in terms of reflection, etc. We're only expecting P2, P3, P4 to do what's on the left-hand side. I will say, though, that as an advisor, I will be encouraging my students to do what's on the left and the right, so that instead of just uploading an attendance sheet, they're actually reflecting on what they learned, so that they can really benefit from all that the ePortfolio has to offer in terms of demonstrating what they've learned. Now, again, only the globally mandated activities for P2, P3, P4, and only the evidence side, which is the left side of that sheet, not the right. Now, P2, P3, P4 students can opt in to doing more if they want. If they would like to follow the new portfolio system, they are welcome to do that. They will be encouraged to do that during convocation. But as far as the advisor role, you're just checking off that they've done what's required. So hopefully that answers questions that you have about P2, P3, P4. Again, this will be communicated with them at a later date, but right as the semester starts, so that they're aware. But I wanted to get this out, all of the materials that you needed now, so that you were prepared for ePortfolio. And so you'll have a number of things that accompany this video and this email. One will be the ePortfolio course syllabus as it's been updated over the summer. The other will be the reflection guide, which again is being shared with students during 501L and will be posted in both ePortfolio course rooms. The other is the PowerPoint that is being delivered actually later today to the P1 students, so you have a copy of that. And then you also have links to the appreciative advising, assessment and the reflection guide for faculty. And then finally, you will also have access to the APHA Career Pathways document, so you get a sense of what students are going to be working on and what they'll be sharing with you come October. So just wanted to share that information with you. Want to encourage you that if you have questions about your role as an advisor, especially with the ePortfolio process, that you should not hesitate to reach out to me or to Sandy Bowles or to Jane Conde or to Becky Linger. We know this is new and it's different, and we also know in order to be successful, we have to have all of your help and your input, and the students need your guidance. So this ePortfolio is just such a wonderful opportunity for students to capture their learning, their development, and their growth as it relates to their own personal and professional goals. And so I look forward to answering any questions you may have at faculty meeting on August 17th, and I'm definitely here to support you through the process this semester. Again, you will not see access to the ePortfolio course rooms until August 24th, and at that time you'll be able to view everything, including the assignments and the naming conventions, and which students have to use to upload into PharmAcademic. I can tell you that Jane Conde has worked very hard and has already connected you to your advisees in PharmAcademic. So you should be able to already view some of the ePortfolio materials for your P2, P3, and P4 students. I thank you for your attention, and just know that we're here to help. You're not in it alone. This is a new process for us all. It's a necessary step forward so that we can demonstrate and document the learning and growth of our professional students. Thank you for your time and attention. Have a great day.